we are hearing SRIMAD BHAGAVATAM about how Kardam Muni realized Supreme Lord. He did devotional service for a long time, then he got darshan, and there was a description how Supreme Lord looks like and how he's dressed. A golden streak on his chest, the famous Kaustuba gem suspended from his neck. He stood in the air with his lotus feet placed on the shoulders of Garuda. Then we also heard this verse. When Kardam Muni actually realized the Supreme Personality of Godhead in person, he was greatly satisfied because his transcendental desire was fulfilled. He fell on the ground with his head bowed to offer obeisances unto the lotus feet of the Lord. His heart, naturally full of love of God, with folded hands, he satisfied the Lord with prayers. Rishir Uvach Jushtam Bata Dyakila Satvarasheh Samsidyam Akshnos Tava Darshanam Nah Yad Darshanam Janmabhir Idya Sadbir Ashasate Yogino Rudha Yoga. The great sage Kardam said, O Supreme Worshipful Lord, my power of sight is now fulfilled, having attained the greatest perfection of the sight of you, who are the reservoir of all existences. Through many successive births of deep meditation, advanced yogis aspire to see your transcendental form. Ye mayaya te khata meda sastvat padaravindam bhava sindhupotam upasate kamalavaya tesham rasisha kaman nirayapi yesyuh. Your lotus feet are the true vessel to take one across the ocean of mundane nescience. Only persons deprived of their intelligence by the spell of the deluding energy will worship those feet with a view to attain the trivial and momentary pleasures of the senses, which even persons rotting in hell can attain. However, O my Lord, you are so kind that you bestow mercy even upon them. So with some other purpose they are worshipping, that is out of ignorance. Like going to king and you asking for 10 euro or something. So from Supreme Lord we can get his service, eternal service. But even those who will worship for some other purpose, like Dhruva, they also get his mercy. Ultimately, they will not want that anymore. Tatha sa chaham parivodu kamah samana shilam griha medadhenum upe yivan mulam ashesha mulam durashaya kama dughangri pasya. Therefore, desiring to marry a girl of like disposition, who may prove to be a veritable cow of plenty in my married life, to satisfy my lustful desire, I too have sought the shelter of your lotus feet, which are the source of everything, for you are like a desire tree. here in commentary, this topic is actually not so easy to understand. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur also explained, so I will read more commentaries. And in spite of his condemning persons who approach the Lord for material advantages, Kardamuni expressed his material inability and desire before the Lord by saying, "Although I know that nothing material should be asked from you, I nevertheless desire to marry a girl of like disposition." The phrase "like disposition" is very significant. Formerly, boys and girls of similar dispositions were married. The similar natures of the boy and girl were united in order to make them happy. Not more than 25 years ago, and perhaps it is still current, parents in India used to consult the horoscope of the boy and girl to see whether there would be factual union in their psychological conditions. These considerations are very important. Nowadays, marriage takes place without such consultation, and therefore soon after the marriage there is divorce and separation. Formerly, husband and wife used to live together peacefully throughout their whole lives, but nowadays it is a very difficult task. Kardamuni wanted to have a wife of like disposition because a wife is necessary to assist in spiritual and material advancement. It is said that a wife yields the fulfillment of all desires in religion, economic development, and sense gratification. If one has a nice wife, he is to be considered a most fortunate man. In astrology, a man is considered fortunate who has great wealth, very good sons, or a very good wife. Of these three, one who has a very good wife is considered the most fortunate. Before marrying, one should select a wife of like disposition and not be enamored by so-called beauty or other attractive features for sense gratification. In the Bhagavatam 12th Canto, it is said that in Kali Yuga, marriage will be based on consideration of sex life. As soon as there is deficiency in sex life, the question of divorce will arise. Kardamuni could have asked his benediction from Uma, for it is recommended in the scriptures that if anyone wants a good wife, he should worship Uma, that is wife of Shiva. But he preferred to worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead because it is recommended in the Bhagavatam that everyone, whether he is full of desires, has no desire, or desires liberation, should worship the Supreme Lord. Of these three classes of men, one tries to be happy by fulfillment of material desires, another wants to be happy by becoming one with the Supreme, and another, the perfect man, is a devotee. He does not want anything in return from the Personality of Godhead. He only wants to render transcendental loving service. In any case, everyone should worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead, for he will fulfill everyone's desire. The advantage of worshipping the Supreme Person is that even if one has desires for material enjoyment, if he worships Krishna, he will gradually become a pure devotee and have no more material hankering. Like example is Dhruva. Also, Gajendra, at first he was thinking, praying to be rescued from crocodile, rescued from death, but ultimately he gave up that interest and only wanted the service of Krishna. Prajapates te vacha sadishatantya loka kilayam kama hato nu banta. Aham cha lokanugato vahami balim cha shuklani mishaya tubhyam. O my Lord, you are the master and leader of all living entities. Under your direction, all conditioned souls, as if bound by a rope, are constantly engaged in satisfying their desires. Following them, O embodiment of religion, I also bear oblations for you, who are eternal time. Lokamscha lokanugatam pashumscha hitva shritas charanata patram parasparam tvadguna vada sidhu piyusha niryapita deha dharma. However, persons who have given up stereotyped worldly affairs and the beastly followers of these affairs, and who have taken shelter of the umbrella of your lotus feet by drinking the intoxicating nectar of your qualities and activities in discussion with one another, can be freed from the primary necessities of the material body. When one gets full liberation, then this is possible because there is no material body anymore. But devotee, as long as he is in this world, he should practice yukta vairagya, accept material necessities as much as necessary for his service and in relation to Krishna, like prasad and this, so that he can serve. He should not fully renounce, but in relation, Krishna sambandhe, until he is fully liberated. Then there is no need anymore. Nate jaraksha brahmir ayur esham trayodasharam trishatam shashti parva sanemi anantachadi yad trinabi karala sroto jagat achidya dhavat. Here he is wanting to have wife is because Supreme Lord wanted to appear as their son, as we will later on see. Also Devahuti, as you will see, she also said, I had material desire, I wanted to have a son. But that is out of humbleness, she said. Devotee is always there humble. Then Kapil Bhagavan told, if you would have any material desires, I could not appear as your son. I don't appear to those who have material desires. So the deep topic is, so it is not so easy to understand. Your will, which has 3 naves, rotates around the axis of the imperishable Brahman. It has 13 spokes, 360 joints, 6 rims, and numberless leaves carved upon it. Though its revolution cuts short the lifespan of the entire creation, this wheel of tremendous velocity can touch the lifespan of the devotees of the Lord. Cannot touch the lifespan of the devotees of the Lord. Here, this is time. 13 spokes means 13 months. Here Sai Maharaj is explaining the 13th month is called Adimas or Malamas and is added every 3rd year, that is Purushottam month. In another verse, it is stated that when the sun rises and sets, it takes away the life of all living entities for one day, but it cannot take away the life of those who are engaged in devotional service. Then one will say, but devotees also, they get old, they also die. Pure devotees, that is only their lila, like externally seen, because anyhow they are already situated in their real self, eternal Atma, in relation to Krishna. They are serving. So that real self can never be affected by time. That is beyond this influence of time. That is eternal. Everyone's Atma is eternal, but because we are misidentifying with material energy, that is why we are suffering this old age, death, or influence of time. Ekah swayam sanjagatah sisrikshaya dvitiyayatman adi yogamaya srija syadah pasi punargrasishyase yathornanabir bhagavan swashaktibhi. My dear Lord, you alone create the universes. O Personality of Godhead, desiring to create these universes, you create them, maintain them, and again wind them up by your own energies, which are under the control of your second energy called Yogamaya. Just as a spider creates a cobweb by its own energy and again winds it up. Noitat batadhisha padam tavepsitam yan maya nastanushe bhuta sukshmam anugrahayastvapi yarhimaya lasat tulasya bhagavan vilakshitaha. My dear Lord, although it is not your desire, you manifest this creation of gross and subtle elements just for our sensual satisfaction. Let your causeless mercy be upon us, for you have appeared before us in your eternal form, adorned with a splendid wreath of tulsi leaves. Because jivas want to separately enjoy, so Krishna has to fulfill that, not willingly, not from the heart, out of weakness, like parents. They have weakness for children. If they insist and cry and like this, then they will give, but not from the heart. Like that, Supreme Lord also creates all this to fulfill our desire. Without His grace, even this sense enjoyment in this world we cannot get. Everything is by His will. Tam tvanu bhutyo parata kriyartham svamaya vartita lokatantram namamya bhikshnam namaniya pada sarojam alpiyasi kama varsham. I continuously offer my respectful obeisances unto your lotus feet, of which it is worthy to take shelter, because you shower all benedictions on the insignificant. To give all living entities detachment from fruitive activity by realizing you, You have expanded these material worlds by your own energy. Unless one is disgusted with the enjoyment of this material world, he cannot aspire for liberation. Liberation is for one who is disgusted with material enjoyment. This is in commentary. Vedanta Sutra says, therefore, Atato Brahma Jigyasa, those who have given up the attempt to be happy in this material world can inquire about the absolute truth. For those who want to know the absolute truth, the Vedanta Sutra is available, as is SRIMAD BHAGAVATAM, the actual explanation of Vedanta Sutra. Since Bhagavad Gita is also Vedanta Sutra, by understanding SRIMAD BHAGAVATAM, Vedanta Sutra or Bhagavad Gita, one can obtain real knowledge. Gita is Vedanta Sutra in the sense because Gita is the essence of all Upanishads, Gita Upanishad. And Vedanta Sutra explains Upanishads, that is Shruti. But Bhagavatam is explanation. When one obtains real knowledge, he becomes theoretically one with the Supreme, and when he actually begins the service of Brahman or Krishna consciousness, he is not only liberated but situated in his spiritual life. The conclusion is that one should worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead for any benediction. The word Kama Varsham is very significant, for it indicates that he satisfies the desires of anyone who approaches him. But one who sincerely loves Krishna and yet wants material enjoyment is in perplexity. Krishna, being very kind toward him, gives him an opportunity to engage in the transcendental loving service of the Lord, and so he gradually forgets the hallucination that he can be happy by that material enjoyment. It is mercy of Krishna. Krishna makes some arrangement so that he can realize, get the nectar of service of Krishna and realize the misery of this material enjoyment. Rishir Uvach Ityavyalikam Pranutobjanabhas Tam Ababhashe Vachasamritena Suparna Pakshopari Rochamana Prema Smitodvikshana Vibhramat Bruh. Maitreya resumed, sincerely extolled in these words, Lord Vishnu, shining very beautifully on the shoulders of Garuda, replied with words as sweet as nectar. His eyebrows moved gracefully as he looked at the sage with a smile full of affection. Commentary. The word Vacha Samritena is significant. Whenever the Lord speaks, he speaks from the transcendental world. He does not speak from the material world. Since he is transcendental, his speech is also transcendental. As is his activity, everything in relation to him is transcendental. Like you remember that Brahmin in South India, his guru told him, this speech of Krishna is transcendental, Gita. You should read it. Maybe you don't understand, but you should recite it with this faith that is transcendental. So he did, and by following that, the meaning of Gita was revealed in his heart, which those who only know language cannot get. Only devotion can reveal you what is the actual meaning. All books were there, but so many pseudo-sects cropped up. because you cannot understand those books of Goswamis by intellect. That is why Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu sent Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur to, because he surrendered soul, to awaken that surrender and devotion in conditioned souls, then they will be able to understand what is actually Mahaprabhu's teaching. That is transcendental devotion to Krishna. And one who has that, he cannot have any other desires for immoral activity, sense enjoyment, or like this. Shri Bhagavan Uvach Viditva tava chaitamye puraiva samayojitat yat artam atma niyames tvayevaham samarchita. I also remember Shukadeva Goswami is on transcendental platform, so what he's speaking is transcendental. That is why that effect was there, that Parikshit Maharaj got transcendental realization. And our Gurudev used to explain that incident from Assam in Sarbho Gauriya Math. That time it was not yet established, it was about to be established. Prabhupada, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Thakur, he was going on a bullock cart. Bullock cart was going this direction and he was sitting on that and looking opposite. And one boy was following, 12 or 13 years old, and Prabhupada asked him, "What is your name? Where do you stay? What do you study now?" Not Harikatha, this normal speech. But because Prabhupada is on transcendental platform, he's always speaking transcendental sound. He's seeing everything in relation to Krishna. So although it was not Harikatha, means like directly something about Krishna, still that boy, Prabhupada had to go one direction and boy's home was another direction, so their ways had to part. So Prabhupada told, "We will now install deities, here there will be festival, so you please come to join that festival." And he went his own direction and boy went in another. Immediately when Prabhupada went there and boy went here, that boy felt separation grief from Prabhupada. Why? Because that speech, transcendental speech, touched his Atma and got that higher food for the soul. Immediately he felt separation. Then when he came home, he told, "I want to go to that festival." Then, because they were like Brahmins and also doing that business of family guru, they did not allow him. No, if you go there, then you will lose your caste and this position, this prestige that you are from such family like this, you should not go. But still he was wanting to go. And they threatened him, "No, if you will go, then you will lose everything. What all this hereditary and money and prestige and caste and this lineage of gurus, everything, you will lose." But boy was attracted to Prabhupada. He rejected all that. Material prospect, fully rejected. Why? Because that touched his heart, Atma. Although there was no actual Harikatha, but it was transcendental sound coming from transcendental person situated on transcendental platform. So ultimately, he took shelter. That was just before Prabhupada disappeared. So he came, but he did not receive Harinam from Prabhupada, but he received it from our Parangurudev. His name is Kamalakanta Gosai. Prabhupada, our Gurudev, also told that when this Sarbho Gauriya Math was established, that was in 1936, just few months prior to Prabhupada's disappearance. At that time, Prabhupada told to Parangurudev, that time Hayagriv Brahmachari, you should preach here in Assam. Because here there are good people, they are having faith in sadhus, so you should preach here, it is my order. Our Gurudev told, because Prabhupada knew that seeds of devotion already were sowed or sukriti by meeting Prabhupada, but not all could immediately take initiations. So that is why he ordered that you should continue here preaching. So one of those, like this Kamalakanta Gosai, he was attracted but could not get initiation from Prabhupada, but he got it from our Parangurudev, who is not different from Prabhupada, being fully surrendered to him. So, transcendental sound. So here Bhagavan is speaking. The Supreme Lord said, having come to know what was in your mind, I have already arranged for that for which you have worshipped me well through your mental and sensory discipline. Here Sai Maharaj is telling, Supreme Lord is in the heart of everyone. He knows what is there in everyone. That is why our Gurudev told, if one will sincerely mean it, to say, I don't want anything, na dhanam, na janam, na I only want your service, then immediately he will get. Krishna will fulfill that. But we pretend, only we speak from the mouth, but inside so many desires. Other. He knows. That is why we have to associate with pure devotees. Then that desire for the service of Krishna will be awakened in us. Like one candle lighting another candle. Navei jatu mrisheva syat prajadyaksha mat arhanam bhavat videshu atitaram mai sangri bitatmanam. Bhaktistu Bhagavad Bhakta Sangena Parijayate. My Skype today is full screen. I'm not seeing what is the time now. Yeah. Usually I saw the time here, but today not showing. The Lord continued, my dear Rishi, O leader of the living entities, for those who serve me in devotion by worshipping me, especially persons like you who have given up everything unto me, there is never any question of frustration. Surely they will get. But those who are engaged in trying to get happy by material enjoyment, there is no question of not being frustrated. Eventually, frustration will come, inevitably, no question. Prajapati Sutah Samran Manur Vikyata Mangalah Brahmavartam Yodhivasan Shasti Saptarnavam Mahim. The Emperor Swayambhuva Manu, the son of Lord Brahma, who is well known for his righteous acts, has his seat in Brahmavarta and rules over the earth with its 7 oceans. Sa cheha viprarajarshir mahishya shatarupaya ayasyati didrikshus tvam parasho dharma kovida. The day after tomorrow, O Brahmana, that celebrated emperor, who is expert in religious activities, will come here with his queen Shatarupa, wishing to see you. Everything already arranged by Krishna. Atmajam asita pangim vayakshila gunanvitam mrigayantim patim dasyati anurupaya te prabho. He has a grown-up daughter whose eyes are black. She is ready for marriage and she has good character and all good qualities. She is also searching for a good husband. My dear sir, her parents will come to see you, who are exactly suitable for her, just to deliver their daughter as your wife. Here Supreme Lord himself is arranging, because he will appear then to them. That is the purpose. Samahitam te hridayam yatreman parivatsaran satvam brahman nripavadu kamam ashu bhajishyati. That princess, O holy sage, will be just the type you have been thinking of in your heart for all these long years. She will soon be yours and will serve you to your heart's content. Ya ta atma britam viryam navada prasavishyati virye tvadye rishaya adhasyanti anjasatmana. She will bring forth 9 daughters from the seed sown in her by you, and through the daughters you beget, the sages will duly beget children. Tvam cha samyak anushtaya nidesha ma ushatama mai tirti krita shesha kriyarto mam prapatsyase. With your heart cleansed by properly carrying out my command, resigning to me the fruits of all your acts, you will finally attain to me. Kritva doyam cha jiveshu datva cha bhayam atmavan mai atmanam saha jagat drakshyasi atmani chapi mam. Showing compassion to all living entities, you will attain self-realization. Giving assurance of safety to all, you will perceive your own self as well as all the universes in me and myself in you. One can show compassion to all living entities only when he sees them in relation to Supreme Lord, and he himself in relation to Krishna. Then no one is your enemy. All are relatives, your own. So you have compassion for everyone. But immediately when we come in duality vision, then there is this enemy, that country, this country, or this nation. In reality, all are coming from same Supreme Lord. We are all interrelated. And this whole universe is His, should be meant for, it should be utilized for His service. Sahaham Swamsha Kalaya Tvat Viryena Mahamune Tava Kshetre Devahutyam Pranesye Tattva Samhitam. O great sage, I shall manifest my own plenary portion through your wife, Devahuti, along with your 9 daughters, and I shall instruct her in the system of philosophy that deals with the ultimate principles or categories. Maitreya Uvach. Evam tam anubhasyatha Bhagavan pratyakakshaja Jagama Bindu Sarasah Saraswatya Pari Shritat. Maitreya went on. Thus having spoken to Karda Muni, the Lord, who reveals himself only when the senses are in Krishna consciousness, departed from that lake called Bindu Sarovar, which was encircled by the river Saraswati. So here, who reveals himself only when the senses are in Krishna consciousness. So how we can think that Kardam Rishi had any lust? No. That is because Supreme Lord wants to appear. For that reason. Also, Devahuti, although they will do some activities which outwardly seem like lust, but they are not. Nirikshatastasya yayau ashesha sideshwarabhishtuta siddhamarga akarnayan patra ratendra paksher ucharitam stomam udirna sama. While the sage stood looking on, the Lord left by the pathway leading to Vaikuntha, a path extolled by all great liberated souls. The sage stood listening as the hymns forming the basis of the Samaveda were vibrated by the flapping wings of the Lord's carrier Garuda. That is why, yes, he's transcendental carrier of Supreme Lord. So his flapping of wings, that is Vedic hymns. That is why when we do Archan, you have to ring the bell. And on top of that bell, there is always Garuda. You will see. Because that will accompany your worship, the transcendental hymns of Samaveda. Samaveda is the best. Yes. In the Vedic commentary, in the Vedic literature, it is stated that the 2 wings of the transcendental bird Garuda, who carries the Lord everywhere, are 2 divisions of the Samaveda, known as Brihat and Rathantara. Garuda works as the carrier of the Lord, therefore he is considered the transcendental prince of all carriers. With his 2 wings, Garuda began to vibrate the Samaveda, which is chanted by great sages to pacify the Lord. The Lord is worshipped by Brahma, by Lord Shiva, by Garuda, and other demigods with selected poems, and great sages worship him with the hymns of Vedic literature such as the Upanishads and Samaveda. These Samaveda utterances are automatically heard by the devotee when another great devotee of the Lord Garuda flaps his wings. Yes. Ringing that bell. Samaveda one part of Samaveda is Chandogya Upanishad. It is one of prominent principal Upanishads, Chandogya. There, that verse is 2 times repeated, that when Jiva rises from this material energy and becomes liberated by attaining Supreme Lord, then she will manifest her own form, Svena Rupena. That is also in Vedanta Sutra explained. Not some other form or assigned form, no, own form of the soul. When attaining Supreme Lord, coming out from matter. Chandogya Upanishad is very clearly about the more clear about Prayojana Tattva. Bhaktivinoda Thakur also he quoted the last part of Chandogya in his Tattva Viveka, where he's explaining what kind of answers Atma will give in Samadhi to those questions. Who am I? Where I come from? What is the purpose? So in Chandogya, about transcendental realm and how Atma plays there. In this verse also, it will manifest own form, Svena Rupena. Atha samprastite shukle kardamu bhagavan rishih aste sma bindu sarasi tam kalam pratipalayan. Then, after the departure of the Lord, the worshipful sage Kardam stayed on the bank of Bindu Sarovar, awaiting the time of which the Lord had spoken. Manuh Syandanam Astaya Shatakomba Parichadam Aropya Swam Duhitaram Sabarya Paryatan Mahim. Swayambhuva Manu, with his wife, mounted his chariot, which was decorated with golden ornaments. Placing his daughter on it, with them, he began traveling all over the earth. Tasmin Sudhanvan Ahani Bhagavan Yat Samadhishat Upayat Ashrama Padam Munech Shanta Vratasya Tat. O Vidur, they reached the hermitage of the sage, who had just completed his vows of austerity on the very day foretold by the Lord. Everything is pre-arranged. Yasmin Bhagavato Netran Nyapatan Ashru Bindava Kripaya Samparitasya Prapanner Pitaya Brisham Tadvei Bindu Saronama Sarasvatya Pariplutam Punyam Shivamrita Jalam Maharshi Gana Sevitam. The holy lake Bindu Sarovar, flooded by the waters of the river Saraswati, was resorted to by hosts of eminent sages. Its holy water was not only auspicious, but as sweet as nectar. It was called Bindu Sarovar because drops of tears had fallen there from the eyes of the Lord, who was overwhelmed by extreme compassion for the sage who had sought his protection. Punya Druma Lata Jalai Kujat Punyam Riga Dvijay Sarvartu Phala Pushpadyam Vana Raji Shriyanvitam. The shore of the lake was surrounded by clusters of pious trees and creepers, rich in fruits and flowers of all seasons, that afforded shelter to pious animals and birds, which uttered various cries. It was adorned by the beauty of groves of forest trees. So tomorrow we'll hear further description of this place. Here Sai Maharaj is telling that every tree bore fruits and flowers, and every bird sang the glories of the Lord. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Every bird there is chanting Mahamantra, glories of Supreme Lord. Tomorrow we'll further hear.